are romantic relationships, especially. You have to understand that healing takes work, even if it's just baby steps. And consistency is key. I'm telling you guys, consistency is key. And I struggle with that probably more than anybody that I know. Consistency is like the hardest thing for me. And if you're like me, I feel you. And sometimes instead of healing, like deep, deep healing, we try and we fill our emptiness from our trauma with things, people, work, success, and even faking happiness. That's a hard one to swallow. Faking happiness, like, who wants to fake happiness, right? But come on, guys, like social media, like Instagram and all these things, like, oh, they're such a perfect family, and, but behind closed doors, they're not. I don't want to fake happiness. I don't know about you, but I don't want to fake happiness. If I'm not happy, I don't want to act happy. If I'm not, like 100%, it's not like I'm going to be rude or like bitchy or whatever. I mean, sometimes I am, but I don't want to fake happiness. I want that real, just radiating happiness. Don't you? I'm sure you do. Pretty much everyone wants to be happy, right? I mean, nobody comes around like, "Oh, I want to be depressed my whole life." Like, no, we're always trying to fix it. We're always trying to work on things, to be happier and to be better, right? And as for me, success and work has definitely been my cover for my past trauma. It's kind of difficult to talk about, but I have to be as successful as I can be, because if not, I don't feel like I'm good enough to be loved. That sounds insane, I know. But I've realized that. I've I've had that hard realization, not healthy, obviously, but that hard realization during my healing journey. That's a rough discovery. Like, oh, cool, like I have to be successful or I don't feel good enough to be loved. Like, what? That's insane. But it's true. I have realized that about myself. And so, because I've realized that, I'm trying to change it. I'm trying to remind myself I don't have to kill myself at work. I don't have to have a million things going on for my husband to love me, or for my family to feel like I'm good enough to be loved. Like, oh, finally she's successful enough. I don't know why this is why my brain works, which my my family has never made me feel that way, like, ever. It's something that I feel. And I think in the Enneagram, I feel like I teeter on a 3, which is like same thing, like you have to be successful to be loved. So that's really weird. But there will be many, many things that you find out about yourself on your healing journey, and that was one of mine. So when you start healing, don't be surprised if you're like, what the hell? That's why I did this, or I do this, or this is why I act this way because this happened to me, when I was 3 years old or whatever. It's very, very crazy to me that it could be something so small that can affect you for the rest of your life. And, you know, that's crazy to me. I don't know. I sound crazy, like, oh, I'm not successful enough. I can't be loved. I know I sound ridiculous, but I swear, guys, the realization that you're going to have when you're on this healing journey is absolutely incredible. And just, it's very interesting as well. But obviously, I kind of wish it was something else I realized. But, anyways, so another thing, and I know I always talk about exercise and how it's important. So, here I go again. If you've been following me on Instagram or TikTok, or on here on my Creating Your Happy podcast, I talk about like exercise, whether it's walking, going to the gym, whatever it is. I talk about it because to me it's very important. And if I talked about in the previous episodes, I have anxiety, and pretty high anxiety at times, and I choose to deal with it with diet, exercise, and yoga, meditation, a bunch of other things as well. I talk about that in my anxiety episode. If you are interested in listening to that, go back. I think it's like episode 2 or 3. So, um, like I said, I choose to deal with my anxiety through movement. And, like, it doesn't have to be like 5 hours at the gym. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm definitely not that dedicated. But if I don't work out in the morning and I go all day, like at work or whatever, I'm going to tell you at the end of the day or the middle of the day, I'm already anxious. Like, I'm anxious, my anxiety's. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Okay, let me explain. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. And it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. It's super easy. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. Anchor, ANCHOR.FM. And it's super easy, guys. So good luck and happy podcasting. So if I can't get to the gym in the morning, I don't know, I just feel anxious throughout the day. And I now know why, which I've been doing research for a while, for a couple years now, about this, because I'm kind of one of those people where, like, I don't know, like, I have a lot of gut issues and stuff like that. So I like try things to see if they work for me, and same thing with my anxiety. So I was on anxiety meds for probably a year and a half, almost 2 years, and I just chose to get off of them. I actually ended my medication right before COVID happened. So that was probably not the best time, and I was an anxious mess during the beginning of it, but I have it pretty much under control now. So, like I said, I kind of am trial and error. Like, this works for me, this doesn't. I did give my meds a long time, and it did help for the time that I needed. I'm not in any way, shape, or form against medication. I'm definitely not against whatever you need for yourself, you need to do. And you are your best judgment for that, not me. So for me, I just didn't like how they made me feel, to be honest. Um, I just, I don't know. I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna try and see if this works without them. And if I ever do need them again, I will go back on them. I'm not gonna be like ridiculous and be, a hot mess all the time. And, I still need to live my life and work and take care of my family. So, um, I would never want to steer anyone away from medication ever. And, if you need them, you need them. So that's great. And so I was on meds, and then I, went away from them. And, exercise works for me. Exercise, and, when I eat, I don't like to say clean, but when I say clean, I mean, like, stuff that's not going to irritate my gut, because I do have a lot of different gut issues. So for me, clean is like, not super inflammatory foods. And I also have endometriosis, so that also affects that as well. So food does affect me, um, in a negative way sometimes, but I'm actually working on trying to figure out the balance for that. So back to exercising. I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm saying. Like, oh yeah, meditation and exercise is going to heal me from all my years of trauma. Yeah, right. Like, obviously, guys, I'm not saying that. But that's not what I'm saying at all. But let me ask you this. Do you have anxiety? Depression, constant thoughts 24/7 that sometimes you can't control? Guess what helps, guys? Exercise. And I found proof. So, this is just one thing that I found, and you can look it up yourself. I've seen obviously physical and mental improvements in myself, in, my friends, and things like that. But I did find somebody that is credible. So, hear me out. On Harvard Health Publishing, a psychiatrist, not psychologist, so remember, a psychiatrist can prescribe medications, psychologists cannot. So she said that her clients have had improvements just by adding exercise to their daily routines. So she gave 5 things that she found through her own studies of improvement. Okay. So exercising, whatever that is to you, diverts your mind from whatever you're anxious about. So if you go, have a really rough morning with your kids, or you're super like me, like you're stressed because you're rushing or whatever, and you go work out, like your mind isn't stuck on, oh, crappy morning, whatever. It's like you're stuck on like, okay, this is what I need to do to work out. Like, I'm going to lift this much weight. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go take a walk. And then you kind of just relax a little bit. I don't know about you, but me, I relax a little bit. Two, moving your body in any way, such as walking, running, lifting weights, hiking, whatever it may be for you, decreases muscle tension, which lowers the body's contribution to feeling anxious. Again, this is from a doctor, so I'm just giving you some facts. Three, getting your heart rate up actually changes your brain chemistry by increasing anti-anxiety neurochemicals that includes serotonin, which is, happy makes me feel happy, and endocannabinoids. Sorry, that was a really long word, and I was like, I forgot what that word was. So that is number three. Number four, exercise also activates the frontal region of the brain, which are responsible for executive function, which helps control the amygdala, our reacting system to real or imagined threats to our survival. So that fight or flight kind of feel. And lastly, exercise builds up resources that help us deal with our emotions, like sad emotions, like gloomy emotions, things like that. So there you have it, guys. There's some proof. And if you still don't believe me, you can look it up yourself, or you can do your own research, or you can just not believe me. That's fine. But for me, exercise is how I deal with my anxiety, my stress, and I feel better afterwards. And I'm energized all day. So that's my deal. And the last thing that I believe is crucial to your healing is conversation. Now, hear me out. Talking about your trauma, it's hard, I know. Most people don't want to just sit with a stranger and say, okay, I'm about to unpack all my trauma on you. Believe me, I've been there. But you know what? It gets easier. The more you talk, the more you relax, the more you feel a little bit lighter, right? Do you think I've always been this transparent and honest? No. But I saw a bigger picture. Also, the more I talked about it, the easier it got. Whether it's a friend, a stranger, a therapist, or even, wait for it, yourself. No, it's not crazy. It's okay to talk to yourself. I talk to myself all the time at work, and sometimes I answer myself, but I don't really answer myself in like a creepy way, like, hey, Teresa, what color should I do on this client? Oh, you should do this one. No, it's not like that. Usually, because my work includes a lot of chemistry, so sometimes I have to talk it out. And sometimes Rachel will answer, which is funny because I'm talking to myself, but then she answers, and I do the same thing back and forth. So, talking to yourself is not weird, okay? Maybe even talk to your inner child. You even you can even use some of those affirmations that I gave you in the beginning of the episode. Just an idea. You don't have to, just an idea. Because remember, you guys, you are the best person to talk to you. You know all there is to know about you, and you can tell your younger self what he or she needed to hear. Yes, it sounds a little weird, but I encourage you just to try it. It's not going to kill you, right, if you try it. And if you try it and it works, great. That's another, healing, coping, whatever you want to call it, thing that you can add to your healing journey. And your consistency. Don't forget, guys, consistency is key. And if it's too weird to talk to yourself, what about writing to yourself? Now, little tidbit about me. I think I actually said this in my last episode if you listen to it. Oh yeah, my Trauma and God episode. I did talk about it a little bit. I used to write. I used to write poetry. I used to write in a what I called God journal. That was one of the ways that I coped with some things when I was younger, especially my teen years.